Wendy Edgar, Superintendent Munoz, and board members. I'm pleased to talk to you tonight. I'm pretty sure you can probably guess what I will be talking to you about, and that is the John Marshall Lourdes CoOp. Understanding that the decision has been made, and understanding that there's all likelihood that the CoOp will not be able to continue in its current form indefinitely. I have a little bit of history that I thought was pertinent to this discussion, that was not part of the discussion when this decision was made. I was on the board when Gary Addington announced his decision to retire, and the board carefully looked closely at putting in another director of athletics for all three high schools, but the community at that time, and you probably will relate to this, community at that time balked at the high salary we were paying somebody for athletics. So we decided if we could move it into an activities director at all three high schools, each high school would have their own high school to be in charge of. We'd move the activity piece in with the athletic director, and we could justify a nice moderate salary for all three. And with the understanding that they would be equal. They would be equal, and when it came to decisions on the district level, that they would each represent the interests of their individual schools. And so flash ahead to, or back to 3 years ago when this decision was made. I was coming off of being the assistant coach at John Marshall for the John Marshall Lourdes CoOp. Never had coached lacrosse and never had played lacrosse. I held a stick once prior to this, but I had coached girls, and I have coached girls in this district for 17, 18 years. Actually, probably longer than that. That's how far back my memory goes. So we were coming in from a very controversial end of the head coach, and our whole purpose and goal at that time was just to build this cohesive team and overcome the turmoil that we were facing as a team with the position this head coach had put us in. We also did not have a full-time activities director. Brennan Adams was doing the best he could to make things work at John at Marshall. He did an outstanding job. We had several conversations. And I don't think that he was under the assumption that the decision would be made before a final director would be appointed for John Marshall to look after John Marshall's interest. In fact, in the newspaper article that was recently came out, they quote Adams' letter to the John Marshall coaches stating that he was not involved in the decision, nor was he told this decision would be made so soon and without rebuttal. And that's kind of how I felt. It was like, this is a done deal. Prior to this, when I was on the school board, and Ms. Edgar would probably be the one, or Ms. Rogers, I can't even remember which was secretary at the time, Mr. Queasley had come to the board to ask us to dissolve the co-ops at that point also, and the board had decided against it. Now, I have nothing bad to say about Mr. Queasley. I think he did exactly what we hired him to do, and that was to look after the interests of Century. And he has done an outstanding job. In fact, I would say there is hardly an activities director in the state of Minnesota that so loves and is so passionate about his school. I don't think you can be impartial. And I think when this decision was made, I feel it was very bad form to make this decision without a representation of John Marshall. Coaches were not consulted, we weren't talked to about, and to me, what I'm asking you to do, well, I would love for you to say we'll go back and revisit this, but I'm pretty sure that that's not going to happen. I know that we had 3 years to build this team. I have worked overtime to build a team. We have the most diverse lacrosse team in the state of Minnesota. We have a high population compared to every other lacrosse team of minority representing the students. And we're really proud of that. In fact, our graduating senior, Alec Agoff, received a $16,000 scholarship to play lacrosse at a private school in Iowa. Alec never touched a stick until she got on our field. So we have worked hard, and we are trying to bring this sport that is typically a white sport and well-off family sport to the student population, trying to talk to them at John Adams and bringing them up into John Marshall. I have been told that I will have the numbers to run a team next year. I do not know that I will have a number to run a team solely with John Marshall. I have 13 girls that I know are returning. 3 of them are goalies, and I run there for a full team on the field. It's 12 girls, including the goalie. I've been told that I will have an influx of girls from the RAL program. I have 5 that might be headed towards John Marshall. So that will bring me up to 18. But I will have to play 18 girls, some who have not touched sticks, some who this year was their first time touching a stick as varsity. And Ms. Workman, that would be like having new 9th graders that had never touched a violin in your symphonic winds. I don't think that would sound too good. And I think that you would not be in a position to compete. What I would like is I would like for you to go back and I would like you to rethink this decision. There is nothing wrong with saying, you know, now that we have new information and we have done this before as a board, we have new information, let's relook at this decision. And what I would really like for you to do is to have this co-op extend. I know that Lourdes cannot afford a lacrosse program, period. They will not be able to run it, even if I were able to come up with enough girls for them to have it. I have 7 girls, several who are here in the audience tonight, that are Lourdes players. 6 of these girls are very highly likely able to go on and play at the next level. But if we kill this co-op, we kill, as it says in the paper, their dream. So if you can't give me an indefinite, what I would like for you to do is give me 4 more years. And John Marshall boys, Lourdes boys lacrosse, has 5 players. And we will say, very finale, we will accept no more Lourdes students into the programs at John Marshall. But we will allow these 6 girls, or 7 girls, and we will allow these 5 boys to graduate. That is what I would like you to do. There is nothing wrong with the school board going back with new information. I cannot run a varsity team with 13 girls. I cannot run a varsity team with 18 girls. And I will be putting kids on the field that will be playing, seniors and juniors that will not be able to compete and probably physically aren't able to be up to it. Thank you for your consideration.